Hi, I'm Claire Branson, and I'm going to take you through another theme from the Smart Plan book. So this is A for Audience. Audience is a really important word for me. I'm often looking after stakeholders in a project, and I found an audience approach really helps me with some of the traditional challenges of managing stakeholders. So I'm going to take you through some of the tools and techniques that I like to think about from general audience engagement, so from the film, TV world, and also look at ways that we engage and think about customers and the tools and techniques that we use through a project for customers and how we can apply that to really help some of the traditional challenges that we can have with managing stakeholders. So, I want to first of all start off with looking at finding our audience, and that sometimes is a challenge. We need to find the right stakeholders. And here's the quote from Orson Welles, who, as a great talented director, obviously knew a lot about how to find an audience and how to engage them. So his quote is, "I can think of nothing that an audience won't understand. The only problem is to interest them." So I think it really makes it clear how we need to think about it's interest led. So we can't just put out information. We have to get the hook. We have to get the interest first. And if you think about really successful TV film series, they've really found something of interest to people. And then once people are interested, they'll then start watching, they'll then engage, and then they'll start to look at the plot and understand the plot, the storyline. The other reason I like an audience approach is I think some of the best experiences I've had is when I feel as the audience, I participate in what's going on. So whether it's a sport event or the theatre or going to the cinema. So I really remember the first time I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm sure one of the reasons I enjoyed it was because the audience really participated. You know, they were cheering on, etc. So I think it's also an audience participation is really important. And certainly the most successful projects I've been on is where there's a clear participation of people through the organisation. Obviously, those pictures from a different world, but principles still stay the same. And if we look at one of the really most successful bits of engagement through the lockdown, Joe Wicks's PE sessions, and such a key part of that was audience participation. And you didn't have to be an Olympic athlete to participate. You just participated. And I think that was really its success. It wasn't looking at someone that was really competent and do it really well. It was all of us participating together. I think the other story has been where participation has been taken away completely. So if we think about our theatres, they can't deliver their normal product or service. Many actors and actresses talk about how they love the theatre and working in theatre because every night's different because the audience participate in the delivery of their performance. So another success during lockdown has been the National Theatre's run a series of quizzes where some of the people associated with the theatre have asked the questions. The audience has participated because they've taken part in the quiz. So that, again, has been audience participation. It's another really good example of just plug into what's happening generally in the community. So I know that I've used tried and tested quiz format. So I've done Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, phone a friend kind of stuff to really engage the subject matter of a project. So to be able to get the interest, to be able to get something that's going to work, you really need to know that audience. So here we're starting to look at techniques that we will use in the project to think about designing good products and services for our customers. So we often develop personas to represent different segments, different groups of customers. So I would use this to bring my stakeholders more alive. It gets me away from a list of departments of functions like contact center, HR, marketing, IT, and makes me think more about different groups, what motivates them, what they need, what they want, how they get information, how they want to use it. And we can come up with a little sketch. We can actually get people to help build the personas with us, and we might come up with a defining quote. So although I might not use this identically to customers, so for example, I wouldn't ever envisage needing the age profile for a stakeholder audience persona. However, I've kind of taken that as inspiration, and I often look at how long have people worked in an organization, because that's often a really useful way of understanding good ways of engaging with people. Traditionally, we've used the left-hand side here, the stakeholder grid, which still has its place. It's very useful for seeing where we should put our attention in terms of who the influencers are and who's most interested in our project. And if you think about it, the term influencer has become really strong in the wider community, with influencers often being part of our customer strategy. So again, it's a really useful way of audience participation. Get some of your stakeholders to actually create some of the content that you're going to use to engage with people. But let's look at the right hand side. So here, again, I've used a tool and technique that I might use with customers' needs. And I've put on there on the upright axis there, behavior. So this is really going to help me think in terms of how I should engage. So some people want to participate by self-researching. They find out a new project's happening. They find out what it's about. They'll Google. They'll love it if you can recommend articles that they can read. So they want to self-research. Then there are other people that need a bit more of a route map. They want to feel they're having a dialogue with an expert, and that's how they actually engage with your project. So that's not really anything to do with what function they've got. That's just how they behave. So if we can understand that, and we can try and develop different ways of engaging, then we stand more success of stakeholders really participating in your project. The bottom axis is about outcome, which is quite similar to interest, but again, we're becoming more and more outcome focused. So what is it about the outcome that this group within your stakeholders needs? So if they've got quite basic needs, so they're going to be maybe a light user of a new system, or have they got quite complex needs from the outcome? So again, that just helps you understand how much information they need. And I think the other really important parallel with how we think about customers is test and learn. So typically with our customers, we're working more and more to a model where we would try out a product or service idea and then measure it and see how far we are in getting value for the customer that the customer can really value. So the NPS, the Net Promoter Score, is a tried and trusted way of us looking at how far we've gone to meeting that customer need. So we use that for customers to see how well our outcome fits what their need is. So I've really found this invaluable in using the same approach for a project. So how likely are you to recommend this new system? So a Net Promoter Score for customers says, how likely are you to recommend this organisation, this product? For your project, you can ask exactly the same question. And this really gets to the heart of, are you engaging well? Are you reaching people? Are you getting the right messages across? And the great thing about the NPS is it's a really good measure. And this is often a challenge for engagement. You can get how many times something's been clicked on an intranet site, or how many times an email's been opened. But that's just very mechanical. It doesn't really give you an emotional element. And it is an outcome focused. So the NPS is outcome focused. There's an emotional element to it because people are committing to saying they feel so positive about what you're doing in the project that they would recommend it to another contact center or to another part of the business. So you can do your checkpoint, and then you can measure that over time, and hopefully you will see that your NPS score just gets better and better. So there's some ideas for treating your stakeholders as an audience. So understanding them, And I think most importantly of all is getting them to participate. They need to be part of your project, part of the outcome. And that really helps you to get over some of the traditional challenges we have with managing stakeholders. So I hope that's given you some ideas. You've got places there to get in touch. It would be great to also see some of the tools and techniques that you found useful. Thanks very much. Speak to you soon.